Well, hello and welcome everybody to our Coach's Corner for getting organized. We are super excited and very grateful that we have Janae Smith here with us today, as well as Arris Shabaglian. Janae is our online high school coordinator, and Arris Shabaglian is also one of our high school teachers. They're super excited to share with you guys about getting organized. They've got great tips and tricks. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Thank you, Ms. McAlpine. And hello, our wonderful CCS scholars and learning coaches. We are excited to present this information to you today about getting organized. On our agenda today, we're going to discuss the importance of organization, the tricks of the trade. We're going to share out best practices, and then we have an application section for you to look at and try at home. And so let's go ahead and get started. Ooh, there we go. So getting organized is a choice, and by making a conscious effort to get organized, you will realize immense benefits in every aspect of your life. And of course, I love that meme, organization. It will fix all your problems. A lot of times, it's hard to teach our scholars the value of being organized, kind of giving them the why should you be organized. Sometimes we see with kiddos, they kind of begrudgingly get themselves organized, or they do it because they're told to. But telling them that why part, why it's important for them to be organized, can be key in helping them to work with our learning coaches to create those schedules, to get themselves set up, and hopefully those will carry on past their schooling and into their adult life. So when looking at information for getting organized, I found some very valuable research, and it focused on 10 important, I guess you could say, rewards almost, as I took them, for when you're organized. And I say rewards because each of these 10 aspects is positive and can be what some can consider almost life-changing. So the first thing that this article that I read discussed was focus. So being organized will increase focus. So being organized will enable you to focus more on what you want to achieve, both at work and your home life. This will allow you to make better decisions as you visualize where you want to go. So having that goal and having that vision can help you even focus more. So looking at what you're going to accomplish with schoolwork that week, this is the end goal we have in sight. Here's our focus, here's our vision, and it helps to accomplish those goals. The second one is increased productivity. You'll be able to be more productive in your schoolwork and possibly realize type of goals and advancements and things that you want to achieve. You might see that those come about faster than you had expected when you're organized. By reducing time and mental resources you expend or waste on being disorganized, you will have more time for the important stuff. So organized people are often twice as productive as unorganized people. I found that very interesting. The third part is better time management. By organizing or prioritizing what you do, you can better ensure that the tasks that are crucial get more priority. It's really simple. If you are more productive, you get more done. Therefore, you have more time for the other fun stuff. The fourth point was it reduced stress levels. And I found this very interesting as well, because in the online world, we do find that some of our scholars struggle with being quite stressed, or they have some anxiety, especially towards the end of the semester when maybe time has gotten away from them. They didn't organize their time, they didn't organize their schedule as much as they should have. And now they're stressed, they're crunch time, and now they're frantically working to get things done. So being organized can help reduce that and reduce stress levels. The fifth point that they discussed was better work-life balance. And many of us get so wrapped up in, the school, getting schoolwork done and focusing on school that some of the other things that make life enjoyable kind of fall by the wayside. But when we're organized, we can find a good balance between getting our scholars to do their schoolwork and getting them to focus to do that, and then having that time to enjoy the fun things and the fun family time or the extracurricular activities, and find that balance to make that will also help make schoolwork more enjoyable for our scholars when they know that they're not just spending one time doing something that they might not necessarily enjoy more than those other activities that they find they're more interested in. The sixth point for the importance of being organized is it helps you set and achieve your goals. And we discussed this a little bit with the first one with the focus, but being organized and efficient will allow you to do more of what you want and what is important. So goal achievement in your scholar's schoolwork will also help create gratification and keep the momentum going to then create new goals and to achieve those goals. The seventh aspect that they discussed was being organized creates a positive self-image. So feeling, kind of promoting that self-esteem. I'm organized, I'm accomplishing my goals, I'm able to achieve what I set out to do. Has a positive impact and has a positive impact on scholars' self-image. The eighth point for why it's important to be organized is it increases flexibility and creativity. And I found this really interesting because, we at CCS, our families have a lot of flexibility and are able to juggle their schoolwork and their time, but this being organized allows you to better, utilize that flexibility, allows you to juggle that time even more efficiently, and it also can evoke creativity and helps with problem solving. So creatively coming up with, problem solving and solutions, and being organized can help with those type of situations. And then the ninth aspect they were discussed about being organized is that you have more energy and enthusiasm. How many of us have set a goal, we've accomplished the goal, and then we can move on to the next one? It's that, like I mentioned, that momentum of getting motivated and being organized and accomplishing what we've set out to do. Not only does it create that positive self-image, it then creates more energy to keep working, and just enthusiasm when we're able to be organized, enjoy both schoolwork and extracurricular activities, and our personal time, our family time. All of that will increase energy, increase enthusiasm. And then, of course, I loved the 10th point, and that is being organized creates freedom from chaos. Everyone has a bit of chaos in their life, trying to juggle schedules and schoolwork and extracurricular and this and that and family and siblings and all of this. But it's how well we manage through it when that chaos all seems to occur at the same time. Being better organized can be a valuable resource and a tool that helps us navigate our way through it. And I absolutely love that. So being organized, all these 10 steps and all these 10 aspects of being organized are all positive, and it all comes down to enjoying what we've set out to do, enjoying the schoolwork, enjoying our extracurricular, and just in being able to find joy and to be able to have the energy and enthusiasm we need to accomplish goals. So now that we've discussed the value of being organized, I'm going to turn the time over to Mrs. Shabaglian, and she is going to discuss tips of the trade.
Thank you, Ms. Smith, so much. These are great emphasis or emphasizing the importance of getting organized. And with getting organized, there's some tips that we would like to share. If you're implementing some of the items from the previous slide, other things that may come along with that, and this is sort of my version of Marie Kondo's organizing your drawers in your life. Also organizing, one of the number one tips is organizing, having a clutter-free workspace is very important. I feel like a lot of times we don't realize how clutter around us affects what we can give in our output and being productive. So it's very important to just create a space for your scholar where they can sit down and be focused and not have distractions and be able to find a pen or pencil when needed to perhaps jot down information, or to be able to freely sit to read or work on a math problem or a science problem or an essay or what have you. The next tip of the 6 is to make sure there are no distractions, and piggybacking on just the aesthetics, the visual, clutter-free workstation, also being able to work in a space that is relatively quiet, maybe set aside, not in one of the main high traffic areas of your home. And I know a lot of scholars tend to work best. I know I am also in that category where I work best when I'm not at home. I work best when I go to a cafe, and then I am not as tempted for me personally to grade a couple of papers and then perhaps turn on the dishwasher or what have you. So it's really important to create a space where there's no distractions. And if that means leaving and going to the library based on a schedule, maybe 2 days a week, maybe that's something that should be looked at in order to increase productivity. The next is the use of a weekly or daily calendar, and we will talk more about that in the next slide, or in the next few slides. We're going to take a look at a weekly calendar that we've created, and I can't tell you how helpful. If you are not accustomed to working on calendars or daily schedule in terms of numbering what needs to be done and then prioritizing it from there, it feels so good to create a list or just have a tangible items to look at, knowing that you need to cross those off and get those done each day or maybe each week. So those are things that are super important as far as tips with staying organized and being productive and efficient. The number 2 item is display this calendar. So not only do you do the calendar, but have it where you can easily see what you need to do throughout the day and what maybe needs to be done or goals that you want to accomplish by the end of the week. That is very important, and those 2 steps may seem small, but they go a long way in terms of being efficient and productive. So just having that calendar, but not just having the calendar, having it displayed somewhere where you can continuously see your progress, or maybe lack thereof, to light a fire underneath your scholar to get their work done. Number 5 is check off tasks as you are completed. And there's something in the brain, I don't know if there's serotonin that's released, there's something that feels so good about completing a task and then marking it off and knowing that it's done. You don't have to go back and review, you don't have to circle back around. That assignment has been submitted and it's done. And I would highly, highly encourage you to create that calendar, get it displayed, and maybe do a daily list of tasks. It can be as many as 5 things, 2 things, 3 things that need to get done. But as long as you are marking those off the list and getting that feeling of accomplishment, it really goes a long way. And then if you're online, please monitor website browsing. I know it's so easy to click those tabs and have them open and maybe click back and forth looking at other things, YouTube videos of cats climbing trees or various things. But it's really important to just make sure that your scholar is staying focused. It's amazing how much time can pass from looking at videos versus completing an essay or working on an assignment that is due in the coming week. So just making sure that the scholars are staying focused and not browsing the website when they should be reading or doing something else. Okay. Next slide we have with Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Ms. Shabaglian. And I appreciate all those great tips of the trade for being organized. And so because we're doing this recording for our YouTube channel, I'm not going to put up the polling feature, but I do want us to discuss some of those best practices and share some of those best practices. And Ms. Shabaglian and I have already discussed some of those others, but I think what would be a good thing to do is just give you additional resources to try to implement and to see if that would help if you're struggling with getting your scholar organized or even getting organized yourself. So one of the first things and what works for me is I like to make checklists. I like to make a list of everything that I'm expected to do that day, and we find that sometimes our scholars also do well with the checklist, and it helps to bring, like Mr. Shabaglian said, you have a lot of satisfaction at the end of the day when you can see everything that you've been able to accomplish or to finish. Another best practice with that as well is if there is an item on your checklist that you weren't able to accomplish that day, the next morning when you create a new checklist for that day, carry over anything that wasn't finished the day before and kind of start a new day, a new list. So that's one best practice. Another thing, and like we mentioned, is a distraction-free workspace. I know how many times do we try to find other things that we could do besides schoolwork, right? I know a lot of our scholars will struggle with this. Even doing chores, sometimes they'd rather do their chores than sit down and finish a writing or a math assignment, or and of course we know that so many of our scholars, they love their video games and they love YouTube. So maybe scheduling some time for those fun things. So scheduling some video game time or scheduling some free internet time and things like that. If they know that that's something that can be a reward at the end of the day, then you can use that. First, we do X, Y, and Z assignments, or we do this X, Y, and Z schoolwork. Then you can have this much time to do video games or this much time to do something else, and chunk up your day like that. Okay, and then after they've had that time to play video games or to do those other things, then come back. Okay, now do these 2 or 3 things, and then you can get 20 more minutes, or you can watch a show that you like. So chunking up the day, having rewards for some of those efforts can really help motivate and help create a task and a schedule for just those daily to-dos. And that way, your scholar will know, okay, if I do these things, then I will get that reward, and it also helps to break up their time. So that's another thing too when we're looking at creating daily schedules. If you know, and you guys know your scholars best, so if you know that they can only focus for, oh gosh, I know we have some young scholars too, so say they can only focus for 20 minutes at a time. So it's quality over quantity sometimes. So if you know you can get them to work really well for 20 minutes, focus on those 20 minutes and then let them take a break, and then focus on that 20 minutes again, and then take a little bit of break. That is why that is one of the luxuries we have here with the flexibility in the schooling for both our options and our online program. So chunking up the time having rewards, creating checklists. Those are all great daily best practices that you can put in place for your scholars. For a lot of our options and a lot of our younger scholars whose parents are there working alongside, that's a great way for you to monitor. If we have our older scholars and learning coaches aren't always right next to them, completing work, maybe it's a check-in time. So every day at a few times a day, there are certain check-in times where it's either on the phone or video or Skype, where you can check in and look and see where your scholar is at on their checklist, on their schedule that day, what assignments have gotten completed, and working together. The biggest focus of this is just working together with your scholar to help them get organized. Sometimes organization just does not come naturally to people. So putting those practices in place will help to create good habits that will hopefully carry on throughout schooling and throughout further beyond schooling and help organize in life and kind of help them to find success and have those accomplishments. So, okay. So those are my best practices I'm just sharing, and that I've also heard from families throughout the years working here at CCS. I'm going to turn the time back over to Ms. Shabaglian, and she is going to share with you a sample calendar and getting set up for the week.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Smith. So we have a sample calendar here that we've created that we hope you can use as a resource, a tool. You can download it. Here is the link to download the calendar, and it's just a basic weekly calendar for you to complete with your scholars. And if you're looking at, there's the web link. If you're looking at the various sections, I'm just going to explain a few things with you here that I really like about this calendar and find it useful for use for our scholars. Let me get this expanded just a bit here. Okay, so as you can see, the main thing, one of the main things in keeping organized is making sure we write down the week that we're working in. So as we begin, we're looking at the week of February 18th, and this is what's going on for that week. What I would start off with going over with my scholars, or have them, as the older scholars can do, work independently. And this might be something that they turn into you, say by Wednesday. Get your calendar completed. I want to see what's going on, and send it to me. Or it might be something that you sit down with your scholar and work on together. But as you can see, the first heading is list assignments due this week. So going through each and every class, it might take a lot of space if you want to type it out or if you want to write it out. You can even take this section and maybe make it its own page and section it off by class. So for language arts, for science, for math, what's due this week that we need to work on, and what are the dates that they're due. If you want to leave this section blank, you are also perfectly fine with doing that and then checking in on the calendar. When you log into Strong Minds, there's a calendar that you can look at that will list every assignment for every class that's due for your scholar for each day. The next and very important calendar or section here is listing the Learning Lab days, time, and location. For our elementary and I believe our middle school scholars, this would have one link and one teacher listed here. However, for high school, and I believe for middle school as well, you're going to have the name of your teacher as well as the day and then their link. And this is something that could honestly be copied and pasted from week to week, so that you have one place to pull up your information and you just click on that day to go into your Learning Lab at that particular time. I would also recommend setting up cell phone reminders for this so that you know, okay, within an hour, I need to be logging into my learning lab in order to be there for an hour or what have you, and double checking what's due for that as well. The next section is the listing of the PE activities, including the duration and dates for you to log for your PE section, as well as listing any extracurricular activities you may have this week, just to keep that organized. And I should have included also appointments. I know one of the wonderful things about being here at Compass Charter Schools is the flexibility it affords our scholars, especially those who may have health concerns or who may be working on the side or what have you, or have activities going on. And so if you have, for example, a doctor's appointment in the middle of the day, it should go in this section. You want to cross-check it with your learning labs to make sure, am I going to make it? Am I not? Do I need to email my teacher or what have you? And so those are very, very important. Last but not least is the last section, which I set here because I know that I send out weekly reminders to my scholars every week, and I know other teachers do as well. And what's really important is that they usually put in links to important things that are going on that week, any changes, say, to maybe the Q&A sessions or any reminders. So, for example, at the end of the semester, please remember the semester's ending January 30th at 11:59 p.m. So that might be something you copy and paste into this section for the weekly reminders and or emails. Another example that I've included here is remembering to complete and sign the weekly attendance logs, which are very, very important, but that might be something that is copied and pasted every week just as a reminder for you to do. So that is what we've created. I hope that it is something that's helpful, that can be used on a weekly basis to begin that process of staying organized.
Thank you, Ms. Shabaglian, and thank you for sharing that great resource and explaining the best practices for that resource. And some other things to note when you're creating those calendars, like Ms. Shabaglian said, what assignments do we need to complete this week? For online, what days, times, links for learning labs? For our options families,